Amanda, and today I'm going to talk about my experiences living off-grid on a sailboat on the west coast of British Columbia. I thought it would be interesting to do a question and answer kind of thingy. So I asked a few of my friends to come up with some questions that I could answer. The rain has stopped, so what I think I'll do is I'll finish my coffee, take Buttercup to shore for her walk, and then when I get back, we'll get right into it. Hi there. It ended up being such a nice day, I decided to do some of the questions outside. And I have my dorky glasses on because I have to see the questions. The first question I have is from my friend Christine. She wants to know how long I've lived on my boat. I've lived on my boat for 7 years. I moved on here in 2013. I've only been off-grid going into my second year now. For the first 5 years, I was off-grid part-time, not full-time, but now I'm in my second year of full-time off-grid living. Christine also asks, what kind of boat do you have and why did you choose that boat? I have a Catalina 28 Mark II. It's a 1996. I picked this boat very specifically for 2 reasons. The number one reason is it has a walk-through transom. That was super important to me because I needed to get Buttercup on and off the boat. My previous boat was a Sun Yacht 27 and the freeboard was so high there was zero chance she was getting on and off at anchor or off-grid. So that was a major reason. The second reason is that Catalina 28 seem to keep their value or stay pretty close to the value you bought it at. So that's the second reason why I chose this boat. The Catalina is 30 feet overall, and it would be small for 2 people, but for me and Buttercup, it's just perfect. Christina also asks, where are you currently anchored? Right now, Buttercup and I are anchored in Campbell River. We're just actually in the actual river of Campbell River. We're anchored in brackish water. The river's freshwater, of course, but we're quite close to Discovery Passage, which is salt water. It's fantastic. It's just great. The bottom of my boat's not getting dirty. The bottom of my dinghy isn't getting dirty. The water in here is super calm. It's just been, yeah, it's been a really great winter here. Christine also asks about Buttercup. She says, What kind of dog is Buttercup and how old is she? Buttercup is 10 years old. I've had her since she was, I believe I got her at 8 weeks. So she's 10 now. She's considered geriatric in the dog world. She's a Newfoundland Labrador, and she's just the best, most gentle dog in the world. A lot of people ask me how I can stand living with such a big dog on such a small boat, and it's really not so bad. I always tell them, you know, if there were two of us, if I had a man in my life, then he'd actually take up a lot more room than Buttercup. So I'm pretty happy. My friend Ken asks, how do you stay warm in the winter? I get asked that question a lot. I've installed a cubic mini wood stove. It's specifically made for marine applications. Cubic Mini has two versions. They have the Cub and they have the Grizzly. The Grizzly's the larger one. I've installed the Cub. It's fantastic. It keeps my boat so dry and keeps me incredibly warm in the winter. I think this winter the temperature went down to -10, which I think is 14 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure. I think it's about 14 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was toasty warm with that stove. I had absolutely no issues. So Helena asks, how do you get your dog Buttercup to shore? Very easily. Again, as I mentioned, one of the big reasons why I bought the boat that I did is because it has a really great walk-through transom at the back. Buttercup loves going in the dinghy, so getting her to jump from the transom to the dinghy is absolutely no problem. Getting her back in, it's a little different. I do have to help her out. I mean, she's an old girl. She's, not jumping around anymore. So, yeah, I do help her out of the dinghy onto the transom, but it's fine. Yeah, she loves it. So, that's how I get her to shore. Dinghy, walk through transom, boom, there we go. My friend Roxy asks, do you have a job? And if so, how do you manage it living off-grid, living on a boat? So I do have a job. I'm a freelance web designer, graphic designer, and I find jobs and clients all over the place in BC. Lately, it's been a bit tougher with COVID. I had a lot of regular clients, and definitely, a lot of them are still recovering. So I've lost a lot of clients during COVID. Um, But yeah, the biggest challenge I find is finding internet. Usually you have to go to shore, get to a cafe, and work from there. And with COVID, it's been that much tougher. Yeah, I have no problem working from my boat. I have plenty of solar power and I have a generator. Generally, I have to run the generator in the morning to charge my laptop fully, and then I can turn the generator off and just rely on solar for the rest of the day, even during the winter. So, yeah, it's not difficult to work from my boat, especially with what I do. I'm very lucky that way. So, my friend Roxy asks, do you ever get bored, lonely, or scared being alone? What do you do to combat loneliness? Yeah, I don't get lonely. I'm very comfortable with my own company, and I don't get bored. I always have something to do. I read a lot. I love reading. So I read a lot, and I've just started crocheting. I crocheted this hat. Um, yeah, so I'm doing that, and I always have personal projects on the go. Like, I'm writing an ebook about photography. I was a commercial photographer for many years. But I gave that up because I realized I preferred photography as a hobby as opposed to a profession. But yeah, I don't get bored. I don't get lonely. I love solitude. I enjoy being alone. I also enjoy being with people I care about for sure. But I really, really enjoy my solitude. Lisa, my friend Lisa asks, what have you learned about yourself from living in such tight quarters and having a minimalist lifestyle? Well, I've certainly learned that I don't need a lot of crap. God, in my 20s, I just bought so much crap. And I remember when I sold my apartment in Vancouver and bought my boat, I had a lot of stuff to get rid of. I cleaned out my closet and I pulled out 50 pairs of jeans that still had the price tag on that I'd never worn. Oh, I shudder when I think about that. Just absolutely ridiculous. But I have certainly realized that I need very, very little to be happy. In fact, I'm happier with little. It's pretty incredible. People don't believe you when you tell them that, but it's very, very true. Another cool thing that you learn while living off-grid, on anchor, any type of off-grid living, is you learn what you're taking from this planet. You learn how much water you use. You learn how much power you use. And it's good. It's good to be aware of that kind of stuff. And that's part of the reason why I moved off-grid is I just wanted my footprint to be a lot smaller than it was. So yeah, and I've succeeded in doing that. Really happy about that. So Roxy also asks, does your boat require a lot of upkeep during the winter? Not really. I think if you prepare your boat properly, there's not a whole lot you need to do during the winter other than keeping it dry and keeping it warm. That's really important because you don't want condensation to set in. I run my boat like once every 3 weeks just to get the engine going and make sure it still works. The only thing that I think actually is a lot more work in the winter is keeping it clean. Because I run a wood stove, that's pretty much, in my opinion, the only downside to a wood stove is things get pretty filthy. So the outside of my boat is pretty filthy. My canvases are pretty filthy right now. Inside the boat, the ceiling gets pretty dirty, but I keep that as clean as possible because it drives me nuts. Yeah, so during the winter, there's not really a whole lot. You just got to keep your boat dry, and for me, in my situation, keeping it clean is a bit annoying. Lisa asks, if you could get one thing right now to improve your off-grid life, what would it be? Well, I try not to buy a bunch of stuff, only because there's such limited space on the boat. I buy very little, which is such a change from my previous life. Oh my God, it's such a change. And it's fantastic. It's a good change. The first thing that comes to mind is more battery power. I want more battery power. So my plan is, at the end of this month, I'm going to make a few changes. I'm going to pull my black water tank, which I call the poop tank. So I'm going to pull the poop tank, and I'm going to remove the toilet, or head, sorry, marine head, and I'm going to pull out the macerator, all the hoses. I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to put in a composting toilet. I've already picked it out. Hopefully I'll do that before I take off for the summer, but if not, no problem. If you go to my blog at amandaoffgrid.com, I recently posted a blog post about composting on the boat. So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'll continue to do over the summer if I don't install a composting toilet. So once the black water tank is out, that frees up so much space. So I'm gonna have enough space to put in a great big bank of batteries, which is what my plan is. So I'll be doing that at the end of March. But to answer Lisa's question, definitely more battery power. Like if I could snap my fingers and right now zip, zoop, zap, and have whatever I wanted, it would be more batteries. Roxy also asks, she had a lot of questions. What's the best thing about living off-grid? For me, the best thing about living off-grid is the peace and quiet. There is so much silence in my life, and being an introverted person, I love silence. Silence makes me very, very happy. So the peace and quiet and the silence of living on the water, there's nothing like it. So Connor asks, do you plan on staying in Campbell River for the summer? I do not. I love it here. It's incredible. It's beautiful, and I've really enjoyed anchoring here. But I think for the summer, I'm going to head into Desolation Sound and explore places I've never been before. I'd like to see Roscoe Bay. I'd like to go to Tenitos Bay, Tikiran Falls. There's a lot of great places that I haven't seen that I'd like to explore. The reason why I stayed here as long as I did, in August, where was I? Drew Harbor. I was in Drew Harbor, and I was preparing to head back to Vancouver, but at that point, the COVID numbers were skyrocketing, and I just didn't want to go back. So I decided randomly to stay up north of the winter. And I'm really glad I did. I've just had the best time. I've met the best people. And yeah, I went winter 2021, 2022. I don't know that I'll be going back. But for the summer, no, I'll be leaving and moving around quite a bit. I'll be exploring a desolation and some new places for me. I ended up coming inside because it got a bit chilly and the wind picked up, but I answered almost all the questions outside. I actually didn't mean to do that. There are a couple of more, well, there's a lot more, but I'm not going to answer them all. This video would be way too long. There's just one more I want to answer. Helena asks, have you ever been in a situation where you thought, well, this is it, I'm not going to make it through this? Extreme weather while sailing or something like that. There has been 3 times sailing that I was literally scared for my life. But obviously I got through it. But the one time that was the most scariest for me was when I was up at Toba Inlet. I'd sailed up there in the winter of 2013-2014 to look after the marine resort there. So basically I was the winter caretaker. My job was to make sure the hydro system kept running, to check on the boats, just to make sure everything stayed working during the winter. I think it was around January 2014. Buttercup and I and Teddy was the dog that lived at the marine resort. He stayed with us for the winter. We were walking down to the docks just to check on the boats, and all of a sudden, a cougar jumped out right in front of us. It was not even 8 feet in front. It scared the living daylights out of me. The snarl coming off of that thing, it was bowed down to the ground. It stunk. Oh, the smell coming off of him, I remember it so well. He smelled so bad, and at that moment I thought I was dead. I think what happened is we were walking into the wind, and the cougar was just on the shoreline ahead of us, and I think we surprised it, because he definitely surprised us. Anyway, so that cougar was just about to launch at us when Teddy, like a switch flipped in his brain, and that dog, he went after that cougar like nothing I've ever seen. That cougar instantly knew he was in over his head and bolted. So he took off. He literally ran straight up a cliff that was on our right side, and Teddy went right up after him. I didn't see Teddy for 3 days. I heard him for 3 days barking, protecting that resort, like just going all around the property and just, I don't know, being a security dog. But after 3 days, when he got back to the cabin we were staying in, he was so hungry. So we fed him and he slept for quite a bit. But yeah, that teddy, he saved my life twice from cougars. And there's another time a cougar followed us up to the waterfall, but I wasn't so scared. I had a shotgun with me that time. And anyways, that's a whole nother story. So this video is getting a little long, so I'm going to end it there. If you have any questions about living off-grid or sailing in British Columbia, ask me in the comments and I'll very happily answer them for you. I'm not 100% sure when the next video will be. I'm hoping in a couple of weeks, but definitely during the summer I'll be putting out, my goal is a video a week, so we'll definitely have lots of videos in the summer. And they'll be more interesting because I'm going to be out sailing further north a little bit than where I am now and just moving around a lot more. So they'll be a lot more interesting. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'm going to talk about my experiences. I had some of my closest friends come up with a few questions for me to answer. Yeah, to answer. Okay. With the spade. So, what? Boom.